There's not one guy, one person in the history of this program that's bigger than the program.
What's better than this? Guys being dudes.
What's up? Welcome into episode number 153 of the Program Guys podcast. My name is Mason Prince, joined with you, as always, by Mark Hall, Patrick Kurtzberger, Matt Gann. Today is Thursday, December 12th. Be sure to like, subscribe on our YouTube channel. You can find us on all of our social media at Program Guys with a Z on our Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. You can also find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts. That's where you can find us. Gentlemen, welcome into another show. Transfer portal season is a flutter. And dudes jumping ship left and right, not just at Oklahoma, but pretty much every college football program. And we got a lot to get to on that front, but also Oklahoma football schedule dropping as we're recording this on a Wednesday night right now, as we're recording this, essentially. And we will also touch on that a little bit as well. But first things first, guys, I guess we want to get to the transfer portal news. Also, Oklahoma playing in the Armed Forces Bowl.
That's what we got to start with.
That's what we got to
made a bowl.
We did make a bowl. Playing Navy in the Armed Forces Bowl in Fort Worth, Amon G. Carter Stadium, a great stadium, by the way. If you've never been,
small,
yeah, it's small but good stadium.
Good stadium.
I mean, it's TCU. They ain't gonna fill that out.
It's
much
well
more.
built.
Yeah.
It's fun.
No,
looking.
I'm just not going to compliment
Pat's a hater.
Gann Stadium.
D1 hater. D1 hater.
Honestly, yeah. In the Insta bio, D1 hater out of him. Matt Gann, you will not be in attendance, right? Even though it's down the street.
Yeah, even though you could walk there.
I will not be in Fort Worth around that time. I will be back home for the holidays. So I will be in Mountain.
Gotta do what you gotta do.
But it's going to be a great matchup, and I don't even know who's going to be playing, to be honest with you, with all the transfer portal. Am I right, Mason?
Wait,
I mean,
hold on.
I don't know. But
we actually know all the old guys are not going to play, right? So let's not get too deep into it, but everyone give one player they want to see have a game. I think that's a fun way to just get into a little.
Yeah, that's a great way.
The easy
Thanks,
one
Pat.
is the easy one's Michael Hawkins. But I mean,
I love that.
That's an easy one. That's mine. I'll take that one.
And maybe Joe John scheming for Michael Hawkins, which we haven't seen.
Yeah,
it's something.
Mm-hmm.
I will say someone who's not been a part but would love to see, and he actually I think made it an appearance in pregame and some warm-ups that we saw more of, was Devon Mitchell. Now that the tight end room has been lessened with the departure or the transfer news of Bowers Sharp, we've had a lot of this 5-star or 5-star going to a 4-star by reclass. Talked a lot about how this guy is a freak of an athlete, and OU hasn't had a tight end in a while. We know Joe John loves his tight ends. Can we get this guy involved? He's a freak.
I love it.
Please, for the name of Jesus.
The answer is no, by the way. But go ahead.
It's not going to happen. But Pat, go ahead.
Go ahead, Pat.
You can only hope.
Would really love to see David Stone get a couple sacks. Like, how fun would that be? Like, if he's multiple sacks, that'd be fun.
Mm-hmm. I like that one. I'm gonna drop two real fast. One is very easy and obvious. Kobe McKenzie stepping in for Danny Stutzman. And then the second one, I'd love to see Michael Boganowski get a lot of snaps at safety against this triple option front and just fill lanes and be a madman doing it. I think that'd be fun.
Yeah. Speaking of filling lanes, a guy who filled a lane most notably in the Texas game last year, Dasan McCullough, is transferring.
There it is.
There
it is.
He is one of how many?
How many? Like pouring a shot in a big
12
glass.
12+ guys at this point.
So let's just go ahead and
I think we're at like
rattle them off.
16 something, right?
Yeah, we'll rattle them off here. Jackson Arnold, Bowers Sharp, Garen Hatchett, Josh Bates, Chapman McCown, Evan McClure, Caleb Hicks, Emeka Megwa, Ty Kubicek, Jaden Rowe, Eric McCarty, Kanai Walker, Kenny Wormy, JJ Hester, Makari Vickers, Jaleel Farouk, Dasan McCullough, and Andrew Anthony, the latest today.
I got to 18.
So a lot of those
Third most in the SEC.
right. Did we even say Nic Anderson? We didn't even say Nic Anderson.
And
I got to 19.
Yeah, we didn't even say Nic Anderson. So Nic Anderson on there as well. Let's go around. Out of that list of 19 that we just said, who are the ones that hurt you? Because we always say we call it churn season because you are churning some rosters. Nic Anderson is the one who hurts. Jackson Arnold felt like a foregone conclusion to me, so I'm not as torn up about that as I imagined I would. Look, don't get me wrong. Like, I think he's a good football player. I'd like him on my team, but I get it. Okay, I'm not. It's different.
It is nuts how often Patrick just kind of calls these random things well in advance because he was on that really early, and I hate him
knows
for
football.
it, but I'm glad he's here.
He
He knows
Yeah.
it. Look, that knows
football
football.
Yeah. Yeah, Nic Anderson, to me, the Jaden Rowe one, I'm not crazy about. I feel like he's a good
And we
football
haven't
player.
seen him at all,
I
but he
know.
just looks amazing.
I know.
There's too much competition.
Yeah, you're right.
And
It's
he
a good
hasn't hit
thing.
the
You're
field.
Right.
Right?
Makari Vickers is one as well for me.
By the same note, right?
Yeah.
By the same token.
Yeah.
Except we've seen Makari, man, and he hasn't looked bad. It's surprising to me that they're not doing more to keep him. The thing to me is I came into this saying weeks ago 2 or 3 of the 5 wide receivers are gonna hit the portal. I just vibes have been bad for a while around those situations, and it's one thing to say it, it's another to see it. It sucks looking at that. And we're only 3 days in, so that we're gonna fill those coffers back up. But if we were to go into next season now, it's horrible.
Yeah.
It's really a horrible situation to be in. It's that bad. It's terrible. And that's something, man. That's not good. You got to be able to retain people. And hopefully we see some stud receivers come in. I know we were hosting the Miami of Ohio Virgil kid. He's like 6'5", would look like a monster next to Jaden Gibson, I suppose. Yeah. But at the expense of all these guys is an interesting calculation. I
want to touch on something that Mark said after I hear from Patrick and Matt about any of those guys.
Let's stick to the wide receiver room real quick. But yeah, I mean, the good thing is there's 2 good things when you look at this list. These guys didn't produce last year, so we're not losing any yearly production.
Totally true.
But it sucks because they would produce. The second good thing is our offensive coordinator has never had to use these guys. So from his perspective, he's not like, oh gosh, now I don't have this weapon here or this guy to do this, because he hasn't had the experience to like understand that might be a loss. So I really think it's like whatever. Like Arbuckle's going to work with anyone. So it's a new offense for everybody.
It's a great point because when Arbuckle's watching OU tape from the last year, he's not going to see Nic Anderson anyway. And there's no one he'd be watching from the 23 season on offense now.
Right. Matt?
Yeah, I'm just taking the other approach. I think there's a lot of talent with those individuals that we have seen from previous years. So I think you do know what you are getting. I mean, come on, Nic Anderson had 10 touchdowns the year before. You know what kind of athlete and the ability. He's the worst one for sure.
We know he's the worst one.
But if we all agreed at the beginning of the season that the wide receiver room was stacked. Now, obviously, we could not seen it play out now, what we're dealing with all the injuries and now all the transfer portal news. That really sucks because we were thinking that was going to be our strongest position group that we had a lot of faith in. Now we have a lot of question marks. And sure, we have a new offensive coordinator, a lot of these guys that haven't produced. I mean, who are you going to go grab out of the portal that's good enough to fit into the system that not every other school is also vying for? So the Emmett Jones and the offensive staff, they have a lot of work to do to rebuild this team in one off season. I just don't know how they're going to do it. That's a lot of moving pieces, not just the wide receiver room, but if you even look at the running back room, even Amika and Caleb Hibbs leaving, I feel better about X and Javonte Barnes, but you still got to have depth. And where are you going to find these guys? And obviously Taylor Tatum,
too. I think another one leads
potentially
to either Javonte or Gavin. I think one of them does. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Potentially. No, and all good points. So a lot of skill position players that we're losing and some guys on the offensive line. I think Joshua Bates is another one, right?
Agreed.
Already a very decimated offensive line. How are we just gonna put freshmen in or the now going to be sophomores, Eddie and these guys? I
Joshua
don't know how
Zessel's the
this
name
staff
I've
is going
seen.
to turn around. It's going to be a miracle, I think.
When I look at this list and I look 2 years out, I think Joshua Bates is the only person on this list that I know would have probably been a starter.
I don't know if they would have. Maybe. He wasn't a starter this season.
Yeah, he was. He started
At
2
center?
games.
Oh, okay. Before he got hurt. You're right.
Mhm.
You're right.
My thing that Mark brought up that I wanted to touch on is, you talk about player development. That's Brent's whole thing is they want to have, juniors and seniors that have been through the program. Well, you're not keeping them. So what's not working? Are you recruiting the wrong kids or is your system outdated and not going to work? Because one of those two pretty much has to be true. And that's my problem with it. Go ahead, Mark.
Can I offer number three? It's a systemic. It's a systemic problem. Everyone's
it is.
dropping guys, and
Yeah.
that's part of it. I think everyone says the same things, right? Like, oh, we're all for everyone getting all their money, but also we got to build some stability into this. And
Yeah.
it sucks to see all these guys leave.
Which, like, I was talking to a friend today, and I've told you guys this too. I sound like an old man when I say it. And this is, old man shouting at the sky for something to change, but it's not gonna. Like, even NFL players have contracts and have to, like, are locked in for at least, a certain amount of time. And yeah, of course, you can talk contract situations, people are traded, all that stuff, yada, yada, yada. But at least there's contracts. There's not even contracts with these kids. There's no rules of anything. And again, I'm not saying anything that people don't know. And yeah, these kids are getting paid, but like, what happened to the game I
We're
love?
losing
That
something.
meme. Yeah,
We're
what happened
losing
to the?
something.
It's not the same.
It's not. It is. I vented to you guys about this earlier in the week. It's getting hard to love college football like you did, and I think it's still there, right? Like I know that it's still there, but right now it seems as though it's gone, and all of these kids are mercenaries looking for the next deal, looking to increase their value. And again, I get it. That's the system laid out in front of them. There's no one to blame but the NCAA itself. You can't blame these kids for playing the game with the hand they're dealt. I'd do it too. I get it.
For that kind of money?
I'm just saying it sucks.
Yeah,
And it's not fun. And for the fans, it's hard. Because you're used to guys like Danny Stutzman being here. You grew up. You watched the kid grow up. That means nothing now. It means absolutely nothing. And even I'll give you graduate transfers. At least graduate transfers stayed at their school for a certain amount of time and then fulfilled their obligation to said school, had an extra year of eligibility, and went somewhere else. That's okay with me too. I don't know how you fix it. I don't. And it's just frustrating.
Your point of watching kids grow up is a really good one because someone like Jacob Jordan would have hit the portal by now had 5 receivers not been hurt. But now we're probably going to get the opportunity to watch him grow up and be the next Drake Stoops. But that would not have been a thing.
All right, I got 3 quick things. One, Oklahoma won 2 Heismans from transfer quarterbacks. So to be, on the level with this, we've benefited from as much as anyone, right? We got to the playoffs several times on the back of these transfers. That includes Jalen even. He's an OU guy. Point number 2, an idea that I've thrown out before, and I want to get y'all's thoughts on it. And obviously there's all kinds of like labor reasons why this doesn't work, but 2-year deals. You sign out of high school, you sign a 2-year deal and you're locked in. And then if after those 2 years things haven't gone the way that you like, you can transfer out, sign another 2-year deal, lock in with a school, become a part of that school, and then as a graduate transfer, do whatever you want. Yeah, I don't care, right?
Yeah.
But then in that way, you get a longer runway for the student athlete to fall in love with the thing. And if it still doesn't work, you get a new opportunity, right? And then everyone I think is a little happier.
Yeah, I agree.
I forgot the
my counterpoint to your Baker Kyler thing, both those guys spent more time at OU than their previous school. That's my argument against that.
Totally. So
but
will,
I get what you're saying.
How many of these guys, right? So will Jackson if he stays his whole career somewhere else. So will Makari Vickers and not Antrell, Nic Anderson if he sticks around forever. Like, that's the game we play.
Yeah, it's just it's
but those are OU guys. To your point, those are OU guys,
right?
No, like A&M.
Speaking of which, a sidebar, man. I saw like a couple Baker Mayfield college highlights the other day, and man, dude, that just takes you back. We don't seeing a dude throw the ball like that and just be a playmaker like that on the offensive side. It feels like it's been 10 years. It feels like I haven't seen it I feel like I haven't seen it in a decade.
Pretty close.
Well, I mean, like Dylan Gabriel was
even
2015 was Baker's first season starting.
Correct.
That's what I mean.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah. It almost has been.
Even watching Dylan Gabriel play Penn State the other night, I was like, God, I miss this.
Yeah, I know, and I'm happy for Dylan.
Me too.
I got no shade with Dylan.
We told everyone he'd be in New York. We told him.
Do you, man? I get it. Matt, anything else to add on this transfer talk?
No, it's crazy that our top receiver, Bauer Sharp, had 350 yards to lead the Sooners. That's disgusting.
Yeah, get out. Also, OU not even being in the hunt for like Luke Haas is a joke. It's an absolute joke.
Yeah, the whole like something happened with the coaching staff thing. What are you talking about?
What are you talking about?
Send the text and get back in his good graces.
Yeah.
Hold on. We haven't even talked about it, but let's just take just a quick moment. What the hell happened with Nic Anderson and the medical staff? Man. What the fudge? And you hear all these stuff that people are traveling outside of Norman to get scans and all this other stuff. I mean, what on earth? And this isn't on BV, right? He doesn't have control of the medical staff.
Don't care.
I don't know, Patrick.
No,
there's got to be things out of his control that he can't.
He can yell at someone,
or not Patrick.
He can yell at someone.
Matt, who is the highest paid public employee in the state of Oklahoma?
Yep.
You tell me.
Because to me, that guy can get shit done.
Yeah, I agree.
And he has to, even if it's a Joe Harrows thing, you got to go to Joe Harrows and say, dude, my guys can't be going off campus for scans.
Right.
So we're all referring to the In the Weeds video that the Oklahoma Breakdown guys did, Gabe and Teddy. For my money, one of the most exciting few minutes of podcasting I've heard in a while, because I'm just getting furious with every word of it.
No, if you've seen that video, you should be absolutely pissed.
Unacceptable.
Because of that. It's unacceptable.
Not
for this type of program. Unreal.
Yes.
Don't know how they
upset. Out of anything in the Brent Venables era, I am more upset about this than anything else that's happened. To hear that Nic Anderson drove to Edmond to get his own MRI because he asked the staff to do it.
Do not know how the medical staff like keeps a job at that point. I don't understand.
How much can an MRI cost? Yeah. How much can it possibly cost compared to what we're losing with Nic Anderson?
Mm-hmm.
If that story is true, it is the most damning thing from like an administrative standpoint in a long, long time.
Mm-hmm. And to Matt's point about, you don't blame Brent Venables. I mean, I agree with Mark and Patrick. I 100% do. These college football coaches operate like dictators. Bill Belichick's going into UNC. You think he's answering to a medical staff? Hell no. Bill Belichick handed him a fork. Yeah, he ran in there with a 400-page document basically telling him how it's going to go. These college football coaches run their own things. And yeah, there's a component of like, doctors being doctors and knowing better than you, but also at the same time, if your guy needs an MRI, you recruited these guys. Like, go get him an MRI. Figure out how to do it.
An MRI, just give him one and see what happens. If it comes up clean, you're perfectly fine. How much does an MRI cost if you have the machinery? If you have partners who own the machinery? All of this is just in the wash. You're a multi-million-dollar organization.
It also costs,
and that is one of your greatest assets. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Pat. I'm so
to your
mad.
point, it's one of your greatest assets, and you marched him on the field because you didn't give him an MRI. So you lost 6
and then you made it worse.
You lost 6 games of productivity from your best wide receiver.
Trust.
And
all the trust, and I don't blame him.
All the trust.
Yeah,
and you don't think other receivers see that?
Yeah.
That all of our guys are hitting the portal, and none of them were healthy?
Not even receivers, just any player on the team.
Yeah, absolutely.
Any recruit.
Everyone gets hurt.
How do you trust them? And also, not for nothing, Andrew Anthony posted videos of him running routes, and those trees still had some leaves on them. So who knows how? I mean, that was probably, a couple weeks ago or something.
Well,
or
I
whenever.
just wonder.
But
he's probably not. He can't be cleared for contact, right? Well,
yeah,
I guess he's been he was doubtful that one game, right?
Yeah, he was.
Yeah,
I don't know, man.
I don't know.
There's tough. It's a tough look.
Any season since the good years that you could get a documentary about, this would be the one that I want the doc about, because there's been some shit.
Yeah, I would like that. It's not good times in Norman, Oklahoma as it stands right now. Anything else in the transfer portal world that we haven't talked about yet?
Darian Mensah commits to Duke. All of these quarterbacks are taking visits. Jackson is lined up to go to Auburn and Mississippi State. And we haven't seen a quarterback reportedly or any of that take a visit to Oklahoma or line up a visit with Oklahoma. Obviously, the read into that, the easy read into that is John Mateer's on his way. How confident are we in that happening? Because the moment a guy hits the portal, he's in an open market, and it's not like he's only listening to Oklahoma.
No.
Maybe these guys have like a Lincoln Caleb relationship, but I'm less confident. What do y'all
I'm not banking on that. I'm not banking on that at all.
Mm-hmm.
I to your point, and the point that I've been making is we're seeing all of these dudes already in the portal. Why is he not in there? I think that tells you more than anything. Like maybe his relationship with Arbuckle isn't what people think it is. Not to say they hate each other or he hates him or anything, but maybe he's not at Washington State for Arbuckle. Maybe he was at Washington State because he likes Washington State. And we all look like doofuses thinking that he's just going to follow his OC. I don't feel good about it. Anybody banking on that, I recommend you reevaluate and you start trying to fall in love with Michael Hawkins, because I think that's probably where we're at.
Yeah, I think realistically, if anything, it's more of he's pulling a Caleb Williams. Like, he wants to play the bowl game, wants to do right by his team, by like in his standards, and then he's going to enter the portal. That doesn't mean we get him either, but I think that's the realistic option of it. But I also think, man, just getting behind Michael Hawkins is also super realistic. We heard Brent Venables this season talking about Michael Hawkins and general duties in the portal to be our backup.
God, I love General Booty, man. If he wanted to come back, I'd take him in an instant.
Sure, why not?
I hope he goes and gets a real starting job, though.
Yeah,
that's what I want.
Here's my other transfer portal thing. Real quick, I'm sorry, Matt. I kind of jumped in here. But the curious thing to me is, like, all these dudes, like the University of Tulsa had a mass exodus. They've had a lot of guys enter the portal. All due respect, you go to TU and you didn't do a ton. And a lot of those guys are going to be looking for FBS offers. And in my opinion, you're already in a crowded market. Why would you not look at FCS schools? There's a guy, Owen Ostrowski, who played at TU and was a good player for them, but he's not D1. He's smaller. That's why he went to TU in the first place. But he took a visit to South Dakota State. I think that's the move that a lot of these small time schools should be making, or these guys transferring from smaller schools. But a lot of them are looking for like, bigger D1 offers and money, I guess. Yeah.
See, I think
don't
that's what
think
it
you're
is they'll get something where they might get nothing otherwise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm with you. That's all I had, Matt. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just don't know how much NIL is affluent in all these other smaller schools and areas. So, but this is it. This is free agency. Every single year, we're going to deal with this. It's like the Wild Wild West every single time. And so, until there is some kind of rules, regulations, oversight, this is how it's going to continue to be. Is we're just going to have a lot of turnover. Doesn't matter what program. Obviously, Oklahoma is not the only program being affected by this year in and year out. But there's other schools that are doing a lot better off and continue to churn rosters with either recruiting classes or filling in gaps. But OU needs a lot more than filling in gaps. They need a whole offensive rebuild. So I'm glad just the last transfer portal. We haven't had a lot of guys on the defensive side that I'm not too worried about that we can't replace with what we already have or coming in. But man, the offensive side's in real trouble. And Ben Arbuckle and the staff, I hope they get on it because they got a lot to fill.
I agree.
Great point.
Also Texas A&M and Alabama, losing the recruits that they're losing.
Yeah.
That's tough. I mean, that stuff's tough.
But those are some receivers I'd love to be getting in on. And
I would as well.
Like, I don't hate that we're getting in on some underutilized guys from Indiana and Miami of Ohio, but I'd feel really freaking good if it was like Miles Tees? Micah Tees?
Micah Tees,
Miles.
I believe.
It's one of them. Micah Hudson, but then I think it's Miles.
Okay.
Or Caleb Odom, the 6'5" guy from Alabama.
Yeah.
Or Deuce Robinson, the 6'5" tight end out of USC. I'd like to see some sort of splash that immediately helps. And it's so early, man. It is so early.
Yeah. Let's move on to the schedule, the Oklahoma schedule for 2025. We'll take a look at that. Starting off with Illinois State at home on August 30th, and then Michigan at home September 6th. The next week at Temple. The at Temple is weird. That's weird to me. Why even bother playing a home and home with Temple? I just don't get
home
that.
and home.
Yeah, just dumb. Then you're home against Auburn, home against Kent State. 4 out of your first 5 games at home. Then you're in Dallas for the Texas game. At South Carolina, home against Ole Miss, at Tennessee, at Alabama, home against Missouri, and home against LSU. 2 straight home games to end the regular season.
One quick thing, it's not listed on the graphic that we're using here. We have bye weeks before Kent State. So we go Auburn, bye week, Kent State, Texas. And then we have a bye week before Alabama. So we go at Tennessee, bye week, at Alabama, Missouri. Just so that part is made clear too.
I mean, there's no surprises. I mean, you're essentially playing the same teams, just flip-flopping where you play them.
Yeah, I guess the biggest difference is we're not playing that main game kind of closer to the end of our season to regroup and get working on some things. So if things aren't good early, we might just get trashed the rest of the season.
Yeah, you play 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 straight SEC games to end the season.
I like this schedule more than our schedule this season. Primarily because of where those buys are lined up and the sequencing of the early part of the schedule, at least, right? Illinois State, that should be a win. Then you're hosting Michigan. That's a tough game, but at least you had a warm up the week before. Then you go to at Temple, should be a win. And then you're hosting Auburn. That should be a tough game. Maybe Jackson Arnold making his revenge tour. Then you go bye week, Kent State before you get Texas. That's you can't really ask for much better going against Texas. And then after that, I mean, you've got 3 tough games in at South Carolina, host Ole Miss, at Tennessee, but you get a bye week after that too. I think it's set up nicely. It's 3-4 game stretches, right?
Mm-hmm. I get
And they
that.
get harder
That's
as
a
you
good way to
go, and
look.
that's cool.
Yeah, that's a good way to look at it. Anybody else on the schedule?
Guys, we got to be honest. This is absolutely brutal. Whatever. I mean, yeah, Mark, you bring great points.
Yeah,
I think it's
sure.
better. Like the scheduling is better, but we're still playing right now. What 7 top 15 teams there, and some of those teams are playing in the college football playoff, and we're gonna have to play them again in a row. I mean, we just had a horrible year. We're trying to turn around an entire team in one off season, and we have to have this kind of schedule, including Michigan on top of that. Man, it is going to be hot seat central for BV because we've talked about this before. Ben Arbuckle is a kind of a boom or bust hire. If they don't turn it around and win 8 to 9, 10 games, we're cleaning house. I think that's just the way it is, and I think we can all agree to that.
You could
standard
be
tie.
You could be looking for a new head coach after the Texas game. That's
Oh wow!
that's
Hold
interesting.
on. Hold on. What are you thinking the record might be there? Because I think if you have 3 wins going into Texas and then you lose Texas, like,
I think you.
all right, you
Yeah.
lost Texas. You're 3 and
I'm
3.
I'm saying if you lose Michigan and you lose Auburn and then you lose Texas and you're 3 and
You
3.
know, that does feel pretty terrible when you say it
Yeah.
in those words.
Yeah.
That's not even the tough part of the schedule.
Because because that's not
Exactly.
the tough
That's
part of
why-
the schedule.
and that-
it's
and I
exactly
think
what I
Joe-
just said.
and
I'm
I
an
think-
asshole.
And I think Joe C may think the same way that you do, Matt. Is it's not even the hard part of the schedule, and you can't even get wins right now, which like relative hard. Okay, we're not saying that those games
No,
aren't
but
difficult,
but we're hosting those teams, right?
Yeah. It's
Shoot.
I don't know. It's terrifying. It's
Well,
not great.
I still like it more than this season's schedule, just from a
That's fair.
sequencing standpoint.
I agree from a scheduling perspective, but still, I mean, you look at these teams. I mean, I don't
It's
think
hard.
they're going to completely drop off from year to year.
Right.
So
Yeah. I think
Yeah.
And Auburn's
Bill
about to get
Belichick.
a former 5-star.
I think Bill Belichick's paving the way for John Gruden to take over as head coach after the Texas game next year.
I'm not into that.
Nah,
Like
I
at
just
all.
don't think that. I don't think.
I'm just
Dude,
kidding.
the headline is Oklahoma Sooners hire Barstool employee to be head coach.
How
What
does
are we doing?
how's the Belichick thing even gonna? There's no way that dude is gonna recruit at all.
Oh, do
There's
we
just-
want to get into this?
There's no way, right?
He hired
think-
Mike Lombardi to be his GM. That dude has never been good.
No,
He's a great podcaster. He's never been good. He got
Never been
he got
good.
one real GM opportunity outside of Belichick with the Raiders. He failed.
Yeah. Oh, he's the Jets guy, wasn't he?
No.
Oh,
He might have worked with the Jets, but he wasn't like
Okay.
the head guy, right?
Okay.
He hasn't been good. He's a big talker. It's going to be so bad. I think Bill's out in like a year or two.
Yeah, I don't. I just truly don't know how that would work.
It's going to be so much fun though.
Yeah.
He's not going to recruit.
No, he's not at all.
Kids
The
are
whole
gonna
reason
hate playing for him.
the whole reason Deion Sanders works is because he recruits. Like that's the whole reason Coach Prime works. Bill's not going to recruit. He's going to be like, "I'm sorry, you don't have a contract, and you can leave whenever you want." Like, does he not know how college football works? He's 78 or whatever the hell he is. How's this going to work?
He has only been around one young person in the last several years, and it's his girlfriend, who's 24. He's going to have to now deal with 19-year-olds on a daily basis who truly don't even know who you are.
No.
Okay? Half the Super Bowls were before they were cognizant of the world.
Yeah.
They are going to this is going to implode. I don't think this
There's
is
no
a
way
good
it
call
works.
for Bill.
It's just no way it works.
Should have waited
I-
for the Cowboys or
Yeah.
the Raiders or something else, man. You could, if you're Bill Belichick, you can strong arm Mark Davis a little bit. I'm Bill Belichick. People will
Yeah.
come to your games and root for this team and not the other team.
I don't know. Tom Brady is a minority owner. I'm sure he would decline it. You know.
It's a great point.
That's not. It's not a bad point, Matt. That's not a bad point, Matt. All right. Anything else on the schedule before we move on?
Oh, let's just go ahead and say it. What do you guys think the schedule will be? Just give your win loss. I just want to hear it.
Shut
Just
up.
real
No,
quick.
we're not doing this.
I'm not
No, I
doing
can't
that
do
right
this.
now.
We're doing that after the ball
0
game.
and 12,
right
man. What do you want from me?
Okay, Matt, do you want to circle the wagons or no?
No, real fast, real
No.
fast.
Oh, go, Mark.
Any away games outside of Tennessee, Pat? Because I know Tennessee might be on the schedule, but
get you on
any
record,
away
Pat.
games that you guys would be interested in attending? Because
I would love to go to
think
Columbus.
at South Carolina and at Tuscaloosa, both of those sound fun to me.
Me too.
Tuscaloosa is sick.
Yeah.
Tuscaloosa rocks.
I know you've been on the field, big guy.
I have. But the bar scene in Tuscaloosa rocks.
See,
It's
that's
dope.
cool.
Love
Columbia
bar.
is weird because the stadium is it's not like on campus. It's like away from things. So it's like it's like an NFL stadium. Like there's nothing around it besides like
Parking.
sort of parking. It's not, around things.
Weird.
It's weird.
It's not on campus.
No.
So miles away. Is that what
Yeah.
you're saying?
Yes.
That's atrocious, man. That's
But
not college football.
Columbia, cool town. Love Columbia.
Yeah.
Columbia rocks as a town.
South Carolina.
But the like,
Are there
the
bars near
scene?
the stadium?
I don't know. I don't think so.
Okay.
It
South
didn't-
Carolina
it
fans
didn't-
get at us.
Yeah, it didn't feel like it. Now, granted, I didn't go on a game day, but my friend took me around and drove me to see the stadium. And I was looking around, and there's like not really anything around.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, this is interesting. So
Feel for the Cox.
yeah, South Carolina fans in the comments, let me know if I'm
Gamecocks,
completely wrong,
yeah.
but that's the feel. But also, Tuscaloosa rocks hard. If you can make the trip, do it. It's fun. It's a cool place.
Could have a fun November, boys.
Could be a fun November.
We'll be down, baby.
With my luck, what week is that? Yeah, that's playoffs. Okay, so circle of wagons,
If
Matt.
Jinx makes it, right?
Yeah, if Jinx makes it.
I'll catch up next week.
Okay,
Sure.
perfect. Love that. Okay, we'll wrap up the show with our PGP MVP of the week. Patrick, do you got an MVP, man?
Yeah, my MVP is the guys that got SEC honors this week or this year for the SEC. First team, Danny Stutzman. Second team, R. Mason Thomas. Third team, Billy Bowman Jr. and our long snapper, Ben Anderson. Seeing a lot of people don't know who Ben Anderson is. Long snapping is hard. Show some respect.
It is.
Wait, did our kicker not get anything? Did you say
No.
our kicker?
Not the kicker, the punter is what you're thinking, right?
Yeah,
Luke
punter.
Elzinga.
Luke Elzinga.
Yeah.
No,
Sorry.
he didn't. The one thing, just real fast, is Robert Spears Jennings had a better season than Billy Bowman.
Mm-hmm. He did.
I think that's kind
I
of
agree with
like
that.
undeniable, and I'm very happy that Billy got it, but Robert should have been recognized too, I think.
Mm-hmm. I agree. Oh, real quick, do you guys think we see? I mean, we're still a while away. Do Danny and or Billy play in the bowl game? There's no way, right?
Hell no.
I
Those guys
wouldn't.
don't play.
Oh, yeah.
Ethan doesn't play. Woody
yeah.
doesn't play.
Yeah.
They shouldn't, man. They
Yeah,
shouldn't.
I agree.
If you get hurt playing in a bowl game,
Yeah.
it just sucks.
Yeah, I agree. I just
Starting
wanted.
tight
I
end will
wanted
be
to.
senior Jake Roberts though.
Okay.
Dude, I want to see Robert Spears Jennings line up with Peyton Bowen and Boganowski.
Yeah,
Maybe
You
sick.
know?
it's a fun preview.
Don't want
Mhm.
Billy out there. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I agree. Matt, you got an MVP?
I'm gonna go LVP myself. I needed to win this past weekend in fantasy football, and I went up against Josh Allen, who decided to score 51 bonker points on me. So I did not get into the playoffs. I was the reigning champion from last season, and won't even get a chance to defend my crown. So LVP to myself, and I guess big winner Josh Allen, who keeps getting engaged and best player in the NFL at this point.
Yeah, I'll go on that fun note. I'll go MVP myself because
Josh. Okay.
no, not that, but in my fantasy league. So I cut out all my fantasy leagues, and then I got invited to a work league. last year.
Ah,
And it's like
yeah.
you can't
Work weeks are
reject the
fun.
invitation.
Yeah,
you
can't
can't
do
reject
that.
it, right?
Nah, yeah, you can't.
If you don't get
I
in the
came in-
circle, then you're gonna be out.
Exactly. I came in second last season. This season, my points for is 1,728. The next highest is 1,611. I have an entire game's worth of extra points over the next person. And it is entirely on the back of Saquon Barkley, Derrick Henry, and Lamar Jackson. I got QB1, RB1, RB2.
Pretty
If I don't
clutch.
win this thing, guys,
I was about to say.
I'm never going
Crooked.
to win.
Yeah,
I'm
that's
never
crooked.
None of
gonna
it
win.
matters right now.
Yeah.
Well, and that's the larger point about fantasy is it's all stupid and none of us are better than anyone else.
I agree.
We're
It's
all
all
wrong
luck.
all
Yeah,
the
it's all
time.
luck.
That's a conversation I've had with you all know my buddy Jake Phillips, and
love Jake.
we've had the
Big dog.
conversation
Very
about
big.
like how all these dudes who like study and do all these mock drafts and do all that. I'm like, it all comes down to chance. Like you're picking dudes who are computer rated towards the top. Like you're not most of the time you're not finding a sleeper guy. And if you do find a sleeper guy, it's because you picked him up on the waiver wire and it's just by chance that you had a worse week than someone else to get him before someone else could get him. It's all chance. It's all chance. Because everybody's trying to get the same dudes. You know, like Puka Nacua last year. Nobody drafted him. But who gets the credit? The dude who got him first on waivers. Because he had a worse week than other people. It's just stuff like that. It's just chance. You're not good at fantasy. You're not. There are people who are bad at fantasy. Let's be clear about that.
That's true.
You can be bad, but
That's true.
But to your point, I tried to outsmart things this season and I drafted Nick Chubb with like my second to last pick.
yeah,
Same.
Worthless.
yeah.
Like it just as an asset hasn't done me anything at all. And so it's tough, man. On the bright side, I picked up Isaac Garenda and then he got hurt. So that sucks too.
Yeah, that's fantasy, man. That's awesome.
On the brighter side, Isaiah Davis at the same time.
Nice. There you go. My MVP is my father. My father is my MVP
I
because
love
he is going to the Miami Dolphins against Houston Texans game. I was supposed to go with him, but I messed up and double booked myself with a family thing with my wife, not realizing the same weekend. So my dad bought the tickets when I told him to, and then I had to back out on him after he bought them, and I was worried he was going to sell them. But then he found a buddy, old high school buddy that he's taking with him, that is a Dolphins fan, and they're going to the game in Houston that they get to go to. So shout out my dad.
H-Town, hold it down, baby.
Glad you get to go.
I was about to offer my dad's services. I was about to be like, hey, man, they'll get along maybe.
Yeah, no, yeah, they'd be fine.
I know a guy.
They'd be cool. They'd be cool. I think they'd have a good time. But yeah, that's gonna do it. That's gonna wrap up the show. Be sure to like, subscribe on our YouTube channel. Find us on all of our social media at Program Guys with a Z on our Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts. That's where you can find us. We'll see you next week. Not the preview pod next week. It'll be the week after. Yes, the week after will be the preview pod because the game's on the 27th. We will see you all next week. That's going to do it. Pat, take us out.
Keep pushing it, baby.
Awesome.
There's not one guy, one person in the history of this program that's bigger than the program.
What's better than this? Guys being dudes.